There's a secret window in the NFL where you can win Super Bowls for the gosh darn cheap, and most teams blow it. Take the Kansas City Chiefs, for example. They get this guy and Alex Smith, who's been the Sam Darnold of his time. Pair him up with Andy Reid. They go on this nice playoff run again where Andy actually gets the Chiefs to the divisional round, kind of like his NFC championship runs in the Philadelphia Eagles, looking like the same old Andy. You're going to get to a good deep run in the playoffs and then lose. And then you get this idea of drafting a quarterback named Pat Mahomes, and you make him sit a year. What? Why? Yeah, did you see him at Texas Tech? He's amazing. Well, Alex Smith is still a very good starter, and you guessed it. Those guys went to the divisional round and lost. Then that's when they pulled the trigger on getting rid of a pretty decent quarterback, and they make it to the AFC Championship game and then win the Super Bowl their next year, all in this rookie window before you have to pay an NFL quarterback. That is the great example on how to do this. Now, let's take the case of someone who absolutely blew it. The Cleveland Browns. They draft this guy named Baker Mayfield. Now, the Browns have this coach in place named Hugh Jackson his first year, and let's just say they didn't do so well. And when I say that, I mean they went 1-15. They fire him, and they get this guy named Kevin Stefanski. Now, one of the perks of this job for the Cleveland Browns is that you get to coach Baker Mayfield, who is a first round, first pick. Usually that is reserved for slam dunks, but since the Cleveland Browns drafted him, he's like a 25% shot of being good at best. So you're sitting there looking at your situation if you're Stefanski, and you go, well, we're going to run the ball and we're going to be a great defensive team. Mind you, Stefanski going into the job was an offensive guy. So for him to like shift his mindset like this shows he's a very flexible guy, judging by like what his roster looks. Baker comes off this great year. They make it to the playoffs. They actually make it to the playoffs twice. And one of the core things that happens here is that the team see Baker Mayfield get hurt. Now, Baker would be going into his contract year, I believe, maybe 1 year before that. And you have a opportunity for Deshaun Watson comes onto the market. Deshaun Watson was in Houston an excellent quarterback. But the thing is, him and Baker got to the same round in the playoffs in similar ways because Baker was playing good. Even though I said the defense was good, Baker was playing good those years. I don't know why you would pay that much money for a marginal QB increase where you think Baker is never coming back from this shoulder injury. And then Deshaun Watson, he's in a lot of trouble. He has to be out a year, which is never good in NFL terms. I've never seen people be out of year for non-football stuff and ever come back to be the same. Might be something I talk about later. And then you look absolutely good because you have Nick Chubb and all these guys, and you can kind of fill in the blanks with like a Joe Flacco and anybody you could pick up off the street. Right now, you got Shador Sanders and Dylan Gabriel, and you fire the guy. He gets picked up by the Atlanta Falcons, and you're looking for another head coach who can be Kevin Stefanski, basically. Tough. That would be tough doing that. You only have so many veteran slots, and the QB being such an expensive position will take over your veteran slots immensely. You know, and you only have 5 years before that happens. You're on a ticking time clock. Um, unless you have a young, good team going into that, where you have one defensive guy where you spent the whole farm on, and then you surround him with younger pieces, kind of like your quarterback on defense. Maybe, for example, the Chiefs have their defensive tackle, Chris Jones, who is a very good player, but the rest of the players around on that defense were like guys they drafted. The Rams had Aaron Donald, but the rest of the guys they had around him was like 1 year guy, like a 1 year cheap veteran, like a Von Miller. When they won their Super Bowl, is equivalent to a young guy because he's gonna take a pay cut. Guys who have taken pay cuts on that defense to play around Aaron Donald, which dude was a disruptor for sure. The key point is you kind of want to have a quarterback on offense and a quarterback on defense, quote unquote. It could be your corner, your free safety. I would suggest not your corner because they can get hurt easily. You pay that guy a bunch of money. He's your captain. He's whatever you want him to be, right? And the rest of the guys, you'd be like, well, you can go find another team to be that guy. We'll trade you. And we are going to go draft guys to replace that. On offense, it's the same way. You pay your quarterback, and we're going to go find young guys that no one has ever heard of in the draft, maybe in the practice squad, that will pay for an opportunity rather than a bunch of money. And see if we can win a Super Bowl that way. That's really what it comes down to. Who are you going to pay? And that decision may lead to some terrible outcomes. Miami is a prime example of this, where you pay the wide receiver, but then when Tyreek Hill, and he was an instant success, instant. And then years later, you pay the quarterback. I don't like that. I don't like what Cincinnati did. You take a wide receiver like Jamar Chase or Burrow. I think they paid Burrow first. You pay Burrow, and then you pay Jamar Chase and the other guy a bunch of money. That makes no sense to me. You go get another young guy, and you go trade for picks. And if you can, and let the other guy go be Jamar Chase of his team. Don't keep him there and have him waste away. Yeah, you got a great guy throwing you the ball, but don't whine about the O-line when you're out here spending a bunch of money on skill positions. That's the old Detroit Lions trick where they drafted 3 wide receivers in rounds before they finally hit on Calvin Johnson. It was like Charlie Rogers and some other guy over and over again. Why you keep drafting wide receivers when your quarterback is running for your life half the time? Gee, even if you find a good O-lineman like a Joe Thomas for Cleveland, there's no guarantee. So I wouldn't go with a wide receiver as your guy. I wouldn't go with an O-lineman as your guy. You build, unless it's Trent Williams, but unless it's that guy, I wouldn't do that. So just keep that in mind when your teams are going over this stuff. It's usually one expensive guy and then a bunch of young guys around it. And if they're not doing that, they're going all in, and that usually doesn't work.